was talking about Billie Eilish and her latest album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, I mentioned that she was standing on the shoulders of giants who in turn were standing on shoulders of giants. And the artist and musician I want to talk about today is one of those people. In fact, I think she's totally unique in recording history because when she came onto the scene, you could say she was another singer-songwriter from the hippie generation. But she's much more than that. And I want to show you and demonstrate to you as best I can why I think she is worthy of a great recordings video. I'm talking about, of course, Joni Mitchell. And I'm going to talk in particular about her album Blue. And the inspiration for this video came from my recent review of Billie Eilish and her ending her album Blue with the track that she called Blue. And if I just show you the cover of this album, you can see that it's got a similar feel to it. So before I do that, as always, some context. Who is Joni Mitchell? Why should you even bother to listen to her if you've never heard her before? Well, let's just talk about her briefly and put it in some kind of context. If you remember with Billie Eilish, I was thinking, well, how do we determine when someone's great? Is it the number of records they sell? Is it the number of Grammys they've awarded? Well, let's just have a look at this. In the year 2000, okay, in the year 2000, the New York Times chose Blue as one of their 25th albums that represented turning points and pinnacles in the 20th century popular music. Rolling Stone in 2020 said of the 500 greatest albums of all time, they put Blue at number 3. And she's made 19 studio albums. And there are some live ones. Now you might think, well, that's not a lot in a long career, but there's a lot to Joni Mitchell. She was born in Canada. Her mother was Scottish from Irish descendancy, and her mother was a teacher, and her father was in the Air Force, and he's from a Norwegian descendancy. Now, after the war, she was born in 1943, okay, November the 7th, 43, in Alberta. Now, but after the war, her father worked as a greengrocer, and their family moved to Saskatchewan. She got polio at the age of 9, and I think this might be part of the story, in as much that she was on her own for quite a lot of that time. And I think the idea of music and writing and introspective thought would have come to the fore at that point. It's only my ideas at this point, because she really struggled at school. Her main interest was painting. She briefly studied classical piano, but she didn't get that far, probably because of the way that it was taught rather than the love of the instrument itself. But she did have a teacher called Arthur Kratzmann, who really stimulated her to write poetry. And in fact, her first album, Songs of Seagull, was dedicated to him. So he must have had a very big influence on her. Now, Joni Mitchell is still alive. Please don't think I'm talking in the past tense. She's still very much with us. Again, she dropped out of school at grade 12. She got into, should we say, into a group of the wrong kind of people. Got a bit difficult, but she got herself back on track, got back into college. And at this stage, she was teaching herself the guitar from the Pete Seeger songbook, which I used the same songbook to try and learn to play all those songs. And so obviously this mixture of poetry and songwriting, which is something that I had as well. But the big difference between me and her, because I can't even compare, is that she is a genius and I am definitely not. But lots of people, the point I'm making there is there are lots and lots of young people buying copies of the Pete Seeger songbook or the Burt Weedon Play in a Day, and playing till our fingers bleed. I mean, this was common for everyone, a lot of young people, but there were some who rise above it and just somehow have something extra special. Anyway, college didn't work out any better really than school did, and she dropped out of that because she went to art school, and she became pregnant. Now 17, 18 years old, becoming pregnant at that time. These were very, very different days from today. Very, very different. And Joni Mitchell, I have to say, it's something I didn't really want to talk about, but her daughter was put up for adoption, and that was the end of that story for quite some time. And you can say or think of what you want, but that was secret. No one knew about it. It was something that pained her deeply. She would have been under a lot of pressure at that time. And so what she did was she started playing in some nightclubs in Canada and from coffee shops and folk clubs, that kind of thing. But what is an interesting point is that in those days, the folk clubs, and I sung in a few folk clubs as well, in those days, singers had their own songs. So, for example, one singer would say, "Oh, these 4 songs, these are not written by me, but these are the ones I play in the club." And so when they would tour around, so in any one evening, you might have 6 or 7 acts or people coming to play, and they would all play 2 or 3 songs, but that were their songs, and they went from one club to another playing their songs. And whenever Joni Mitchell tried to sing a song, they would say, "Oh, no, you can't sing that. That's my song, or that's Harry's song, or that's John's song." It was a very male-dominated world, maybe still is, who knows. And so she thought, "Well, blow this, I'm going to start writing my own." And now she meets a guy called Chuck, and they head off to Detroit and soon after down to California. Now, her songs must be quite good at this point. This is around 67, because other people are starting to sing them and even beginning to record them. And in 68, she makes her first album, Song to a Seagull, and then later Clouds in 1969. And she wins her first Grammy in 1970 with her album Ladies of the Canyon. So you can see it's like one after another, junk, junk, junk. And then she took a bit of a year off, and she then came out with this seminal album, Blue, which is the one that we're going to talk about today. Right, so here we are at Blue. It's an album which many people, good friends of her at the time, said she shouldn't do. It's far too personal. And what separates Joni Mitchell from Billie Holiday, Dinah Washington, and the great singers that came before her, Sarah Vaughan, is that largely she wrote her own songs. In fact, exclusively on the albums, I believe. And this album, Blue, it's in a way, Bob Dylan's written obviously lots of albums, and he's someone I will come to later on one day in the future when I feel ready. But he had an album called Blood on the Tracks, which many people think was his seminal album, and his album was written, you know, at a very difficult time in his life, from relationships. But I get the feeling with Joni Mitchell that her life has always been troubled, that she's always been a real poet and a painter, meaning a visual artist, a painter, will see things slightly differently from other people. They will notice the colour, the shading in the tree, some perspective, some depth and landscape. They're thinking in colours and shapes. But Joni was doing that with visually, but also with words. And I think these things come together. And what better to write about than herself? So you've got here a selection of 10 very, very personal songs. And the album opens with a track called All I Want. I'm on a lonely road and I'm travelling, looking for something. What can it be? Or I hate you some, I hate you some, I love you some. Or I love you when I forget about me. I want to be strong, I want to laugh along, I want to belong to the living. Alive, I want to get up and jive and wreck my stockings in some jukebox dive. Do you want to dance with me, baby? Do you want to take a chance? Or maybe finding some sweet romance with me, baby? Well, come on. Now, when you listen to those lyrics and read those lyrics on the one level, you can see all sorts of elements that I think you find in Billie Eilish and vice versa. And I hope Joni Mitchell isn't upset when I'm saying this, because these are the thoughts, these are the insecurities of a young woman. But at this stage, you know, this is 1971. And this is a theme that goes on throughout her life. I listened to all of her albums, and she's someone who's gone through so many changes in her life, and her music reflects it, from jazz and all sorts of influences. But this is cut down. This is just her and a guitar and the odd occasional instrument. So let's, for example, on All I Want and on some of the tracks on this album, she plays something called an Appalachian dulcimer. But on this track, she's playing an acoustic guitar too. And I find that when you've got something so raw without any overproduction, you get a marvelous effect. Let me just give you a little hint of it. Now, her voice isn't for everyone.
I am on a lonely road and I am traveling, looking for something. What can it be? Oh, I hate you some, I hate you some, I love you some. Oh, I love you when I forget about me. I wanna be strong, I wanna live alone, I wanna belong to the living. Alive, I wanna get up and drive, wanna wreck my stockings in some jukebox dive. Do you wanna dance with me, baby? Do you wanna take a chance on maybe finding some sweet romance with me, baby? Well, come on.
I mean, isn't that marvelous? It's just so simple with the Appalachian dulcimer on the right, and then her guitar, very simple chords on the guitar. Now, a lot of the time she has her own tunings of the guitar. I've heard somewhere that it's because she had a weak left hand. That I don't know. But she definitely made that tunings her own, and she gets some great effects from it. But her voice, I find it to be beautiful. And I said that it's not for everyone. And I think it's a voice that you, if you find it a little bit shrill at the beginning, you very soon get used to it, because it's the way that her colour and light works. And over the years, her voice has got lower and more mellow, not better, different. And I think she's able to portray those emotions so beautifully, because she hasn't used any of the recording techniques that more modern artists use. It's just literally her and those instruments. The album is full of great songs, often about other people, about lovers or whatever. And as I said earlier, she was criticised by people who knew her for the fact that she would sing about such personal things. And on the third track, Little Green, she really does talk and sing about, obviously, the birth of her child and the people who knew what that song was about. were saying, you shouldn't do this. You really shouldn't do this. But she did, and I'm glad I did, because this is such an incredible song.
Born with the moon in Cancer, choose her a name she will answer to. Call her green, and the winters cannot fade her. Call her green for the children who've made her little green. Be a gypsy dancer. He went to California, hearing that everything's warmer there. So you write him a letter and say, her eyes are blue. He sends you a poem and she's lost to you. Little green, he's a non-conformer, just a little green.
Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful song. And I didn't put the full context that when she became pregnant at college, that the person, the father of the child, just went off and left her, 3 months pregnant, just left her with just basically a little stove to heat her room in Canada, and just disappeared. So you can imagine, a young woman on her own with a baby, looked down on society by many people, everyone, certainly the church, very powerful in those days, and other people. And yeah, that was adoption was the standard. And this fantastic idea, that she's got this idea of what the future will be. So you write him a letter and say, her eyes are blue. He sends you a poem. Yeah, great, fantastic. He's living this sunny life in California and being free, and she's stuck at home with the child. Well, the good news is that they did meet up later in life. She discovered her mum, and they've met up, and that's nicely rounded round now. But those things in life are massive, and they can't ever be underestimated, in my opinion. Now, Joni Mitchell's lyrics are really... she writes at some point, songs are like tattoos. And I can get what she meant, having written songs. There are key moments of your life when you feel inspired to write a song. And they are like tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, but I have some songs I've written, not very good and a long time ago. But I can imagine what she's talking about, that when you've got the song, when you hear it, when you play it, when you perform it, you actually feel the effects of where it was when you wrote it. The emotions come back full and hard as if it was yesterday. And this is why she struggled performing this album, because everything was so raw to her, and they weren't really, she put them out there, but she hadn't really thought it through that she was going to have to go onto a stage and sing them. Now, there's a song on the album, on the first side, called Carrie, and it opens with this line: the wind is in from Africa. Last night I couldn't sleep. Oh, it is sure hard to leave here, but it's really not my home. My fingernails are filthy, I got beach tar on my feet, and I miss my clean white linen and my fancy French cologne. And that line, the wind is in from Africa, every time, even now, years after hearing this album for the first time, when it's hot and you can't sleep, I just think of that song. And it's incredible. And she's singing about this guy saying, come on, we need to go out and have fun, and we should do these things. And he's obviously not interested, and he's probably bored, or he's reading a book or something, and he doesn't want to go out dancing. But it's a great song. Shall we have a little listen to that? Where is it? Here it is.
The wind is in from Africa. Last night I couldn't sleep. Oh, you know it sure is hard to leave you, Carrie, but it's really not my home. My fingernails are filthy. I got beach tar on my feet, and I miss my clean white linen and my fancy French cologne. Oh, Carrie, get out your cane and put on some silk. Oh, you're a mean old daddy, but I like you. Come on down to the Mermaid Cafe, and I will buy you a bottle of wine, and we'll laugh and toast to nothing and smash our empty glasses down. Let's have a round for these freaks and these soldiers, a round for these friends of mine. Let's have another round for the bright red devil who keeps me in this tourist town. Come on, Carrie, get out your cane. I'll put on some silk. Oh, you're a neat old daddy, but I like you.
Yeah, come on. Get out your cane and I'll put on some silver and we'll go out and we'll have a night. And you can imagine, oh no, we're going to stay in. I love it. You know, I'm not going to go through the whole album because I think Joni Mitchell is an artist that you need to discover for yourself. I can remember when I first heard this album, someone put it on. We left the pub, you know, after closing time, and we went back to somebody's house, and you know, we had a few more drinks, and then the evening got very quiet, and then someone put on this album, and I was just transfixed. And it's like when I hear this, it's like when the experience I heard it the first time, but somehow you come round over the years and you understand it. You understand it so much more. It's like recognizing something true for the first time, and yet deeper. And me as an old man now looking and listening to this young person, and she has redone some of her songs recently and are beautifully done. And I'll put some notes and links in the description below to a full orchestrated versions for some of these songs. But I want to play you a song called California. Let's see what you think of this one.
Sitting in a park in Paris, France, reading the news and it sure looks bad. They won't give peace a chance. There was just a dream some of us had. Still a lot of lands to see, but I wouldn't want to stay here. It's too old and cold and settled in its ways here. All but California, California, coming home. I'm gonna see the folks I dig. I'll even kiss a sunset peak. California, coming home. I met a redneck on the Grecian Isle who did the go dance very well. He gave me back my smile, but he kept my camera in a cell. Oh, the rogue, the red rogue. He cooked good omelets and stews, and I might have stayed on with him there, but my heart cried out for you. California.
Yeah, so we've got a similar theme there, haven't we, from Carrie, and she's needed to get away. And this is obviously, these songs were written on that year out that we talked about earlier, and yeah, you've just got this other track I want to talk about, this Flight Tonight. Look out to the left, the captain said. The light's down there, that's where we'll land. And then she sings, I saw a falling star burn up above the Las Vegas sands. It wasn't the one you gave to me that night down south between the trailer, not the early one that you can wish upon, not the northern one that guides in the sailors. It's then she sings, "Oh, star bright, you've got the loving that I like, all right. Turn this crazy bird around. I shouldn't have got on this flight tonight." And she's obviously just left someone to go off on tour or to concerts or whatever she had to do, and then she's immediately regretting it. And it's so deep, so true, so simple that I like it very much, and I really, really hope you do too. But we're going to play your song, and she's got a song on here where she's talking about Christmas, which is a really dangerous thing to do because of the fact that when it's not Christmas and it's middle of the summer and you're playing the album, you don't want the track to jump out and you think, oh my God. But do you know what? I've never, ever had that experience. Even when I've been playing this album in the middle of summer, I never think, oh, this track doesn't belong here. And it's called River. And look at the way that she paints the stories on this track. It's just, I just find that fantastic, to be honest. What can you say? It's just using that, obviously that famous carol, and just using a little bit of the hint of this. And she's got great lines in here, which are fantastic. He tried hard to help me. He put me at ease. Lord, he loved me so naughty, made me weak in the knees. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. I'm so hard to handle. I'm selfish and I'm sad. Now I've gone and lost the best baby that I ever had. I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Oh, I wish I had a river so long I would teach my feet to fly. Oh, I wish I had a river I made my baby say goodbye. It's sad. It's so sad. But the way she cuts through these lyrics. And the next track is called A Case of You. And that track, I didn't, A case of you, obviously, there's the English word a case of you, a situation or a legal case or, a situation. But I didn't realize in my younger days, not being a wine drinker, when I was like 15, 16, when I first heard the album, I didn't realize that what she was referring to here was a case of wine, because she sings, I could drink a case of you and I would still be on my feet. Well, I didn't know what she meant by a case. And so I just thought of, I don't know, another kind of case, I suppose. So as you got older and you went to the wine dealers and I was buying wine, and they say, would you like a case, sir, or do you just want a bottle? And then suddenly the penny falls and you think, yes, like 6 bottles is a case. So I could drink a case of you and I would still be on my feet. This song shows how much she gets completely sucked into a relationship. She's giving everything she's got. And I can imagine it must be damned hard if you're on the other side of that relationship to somehow, to satisfy her and dedicate as much energy and time to yourself for the love that she has and is open. I don't know. I wasn't there. James Taylor was there. They had a very passionate affair. James Taylor is famous for writing Fire and Rain and other songs. You could look him up as well. And he actually played on that last track. He played a little bit of guitar on that track. Let me just play you a little bit of A Case of You, because it's such an incredible song.
Before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar, on the back of a cartoon coaster, in the blue TV screen light. I drew a map of Canada, oh Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine, tastes so bitter and so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you. And I would still be on my feet, or I would still be on my feet.
Now, here she brings in the next verse, another element of her life, the one I talked about with painting. Oh, I'm a lonely painter. I live in a box of paints. I'm frightened by the devil, and I'm drawn to those ones who ain't afraid. Wow, that also tells us a lot about her. She's giving so much of herself away here. And it's risky. It's really risky. And so when you discover these songs, I'm sure you'll find connections with your own life in it in the very much way that a lot of people are finding that in Billie Eilish. Now, I keep making that comparison only because I've just recently done that album and I'm seeing that young writer and the way that she's doing it. But this album, Blue, from Joni Mitchell, to be honest with you, it's on an island. It's on a level on its own. You don't need to compare this. This is actually as good as it gets in a human being conveying emotions and expressing it in a way that I think is absolutely timeless. And there is nothing about this album that would date it from a sound or an acoustic point of view, apart from some of the lyrics where she's talking about in California and sort of like you can imagine the hippies. That was a movement at the time, and the optimism, and she talks about how terrible the war is, and she's referring to Vietnam. But we could see the same parallels exactly today. Now, the album ends with a song called The Last Time I Saw Richard. And the lyric is, again, it's just like little movies. You visualize everything. The last time I saw Richard was in Detroit in '68. And he told me, all romantics meet the same fate someday, cynical and drunk and boring someone in some dark cafe. You laugh, he said, you think you're immune. Go look at your eyes, they're full of moon. You like roses and kisses and pretty men to tell you all those pretty lies. Pretty lies, only pretty lies. He put a quarter in the Wurlitzer and he pushed 3 buttons and the thing began to whir. And a barmaid came in in fishnet stockings and a bow tie, and she said, drink up now, it's getting on time to close. Richard, you haven't really changed, I said. It's just that now you're romanticising some pain that's in your head. You got tombs in your eyes, but the songs you punched are dreaming. Listen, they all talk of love so sweet. When are you going to get yourself back up on your feet? Oh, love can be so sweet. Richard got married to a figure skater, and he bought her a dishwasher and a coffee percolator. And he drinks at home now most nights with the TV on and all the house lights left up bright. I'm going to blow this damn candle out. I don't want nobody coming over to my table. I got nothing to talk to anyone about. All good dreamers pass this way someday, hiding behind bottles in dark cafes. Dark cafes. Only a dark cocoon before I get my gorgeous wings and fly away. Only a phase, these dark cafe days. Isn't that fantastic? Just, that is how she ends the album. I'm going to give you a taste.
Last time I saw Richard was Detroit in '68, and he told me all romantics meet the same fate someday. Cynical and drunk and boring someone in some dark cafe. You laugh, he said, you think you're immune. Go look at your eyes, they're full of moon. You like roses and kisses and pretty men to tell you all those pretty lies, pretty lies. When you gonna realize they're only pretty lies, only pretty lies, just pretty lies. Put a quarter in the Wurlitzer, and he pushed 3 buttons, and the thing began to whir. And a barmaid came by in fishnet stockings and a bow tie, and she said, "Drink up now, it's getting on time to close." Richard, you have
For copyright reasons, I really don't want to play anymore. It's not fair. Listen, I hope I've given you an idea of who Joni Mitchell is and the seminal album Blue. And I really, really do hope that you get a chance to play this thing for yourself and discover it for yourself, because I think it's a marvellous, marvellous album. And it's a great recording as well. It's very, very simply recorded. You get the feeling that she's there with you. And it's a kind of album that once you get into her and her style of performing, it will stay with you your whole life. It has mine. If you have been, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video, but until then, enjoy the music.